Hello there, this is InfoTrack, dropping another video on Tesla. Tesla is very particular in their statement of not using LiDAR for their vehicles to accomplish full self-driving. Why is everyone else using LiDAR? Is LiDAR good or is it bad? Let's discuss that in this video. Different companies are taking different approaches to full self-driving. No one has actually reached level 5 yet. So really, it's anyone's game at this point. But right now, as it stands, Tesla seems to be the one in lead. If you haven't seen any of the videos that the owners are posting on YouTube or Twitter or any other social media platforms about the FSD beta, the rewrite that Elon Musk said would be a quantum leap, then you are greatly missing out on those videos. It shows how well the car maneuvers in most of the situations. Now, you can argue and tell, well, Waymo already has a full self-driving system active in Arizona. And to that, I would say yes. It's working, but there are crucial issues allied with LiDAR. Now, what is LiDAR in the first place? LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. And what does that basically mean? Well, there's a spinny thing. I'm gonna call it that because that's literally what it is. It shoots out lasers or light beams, and what it does is that it waits for the light beams to return back and calculate how far the object is from its location. And this can be very useful. This is basically what radar does, except for using light waves. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. The iPhone 12 has got LiDAR. Even they are using it for a completely different purpose rather than a full self-driving car. And obviously they are using something that is less precise, whereas the LiDAR used for cars is in millimeter precision. It can measure up to a certain distance with millimeter accuracy. The iPhone does not do that, and I don't even know if it does centimeter precision, but that is highly possible. And I think the reports have also come showing that iPhone does it only up to 16 feet, so not that far. That would be like a car driving about 3 to 4 miles an hour. And I've seen this argument made well. Why can't cars use LiDAR if iPhones can? I'm pretty sure it's because that no one wants to be in a car that only covers 3 to 4 miles an hour, because it can only see 16 feet in front of it, so why not use Tesla's LiDAR? Tesla is very engineering based. They simplify things as much as possible, and everyone working there has a sort of engineering mindset, thinking from first principles. And there are some issues with LiDAR that present themselves before even you start. Number one is cost. Costs can drop drastically over time. Earlier, it used to cost about $70,000 to just buy the equipment for LiDAR, let alone installing it on the vehicle. And that is very expensive. That's just the entire cost of the car itself. But now, cost of LiDAR is dropping. It's about $25,000. And so, cost is something you can get over of. It proves to be a valuable asset. Second reason why Tesla doesn't use LiDAR is because it's quite unreliable. I mean, think about this. You have physical cameras that don't move, don't do anything like the ones you have in your phone. And what they do is they are just there, like just work. You could take a 10-year-old phone, open up the camera, and obviously the image quality is not as good. It's all for processing, but as long as the phone works, the camera should also work. And that's exactly the benefit of using cameras. You have camera that can detect everything. And obviously LiDAR isn't a replacement for cameras, it's just an add-on. But cameras can do the same thing that LiDAR can. And LiDAR is a spinning thing. It's literally something that is spinning on the vehicle, which means it's more prone to damage. So because of that, LiDAR is not really practical because first of all, it breaks. It's quite expensive to replace. Secondly, even if it does not break, it's just something that's waiting to be broken. And that's quite useless and ruins the design of the car. I mean, you look at any Tesla today, especially those Model 3 or Model Y. If you want to know more about these models or the history and the rise of Tesla, do check out our last video. They all have the sensor suite to make full self-driving viable on those vehicles. You look at those cars and they are pretty much like every other car on the road. Well, maybe they look nicer than the other cars. Well, that's subjective, but they don't have any next external factor that distinguishes them from the other vehicles. Necessarily, for example, if you look at Waymo or the Google self-driving car, it looks like an orange or a ball with something on top. It's weird. You take Waymo for example. Waymo uses a Chrysler Pacifica, which is pretty nice minivan if I have to say it myself. You look at the sensor suite and you can tell that the car is special. It has some self-driving equipment, and whereas Tesla doesn't do any of that. It's all just built into the vehicle, and with LiDAR you cannot get that, so it's just something to think about. Third reason why Tesla doesn't use LiDAR is because it is redundant. There is no need to use LiDAR because LiDAR does not work in most of the situations where you're in desperate need. The camera LiDAR does not work in fog, snow, rain, or any other natural conditions. Because of this limitation for LiDAR, what you need is a beat of vision system, and that's what Elon has been referring to. LiDAR is useless because in those times of need where you want to see but you can't see anything when you've got camera LiDAR, it's like blind driving even in a light storm. So what you need with the LiDAR is a really good vision system. What you need without using LiDAR. So LiDAR just becomes a secondary option for something that is less relevant and actually even less useful because it doesn't even work most of the time. Now radar. Radar is different. It uses radio waves to determine the distance between the vehicle and front. What radio waves can do is that they can see clearly through rain, fog, hail, snow, just anything pretty much. If there is rainfall, you can see pretty clearly, and that's why they use radar for adaptive cruise control to keep you in a safe distance from the car in front. And radar is actually useful. It's not that expensive because it doesn't break easily and no real moving parts. And it aids cameras. It detects distance with pretty good accuracy and see through most of the natural conditions. So radar makes total sense. LiDAR, not so much. So why is every other company using LiDAR? Well, for one, no one has reached full self-driving yet, so we don't really know what's the right method. It could be that Tesla's method is completely wrong and they have to start all over again from scratch, add LiDAR and whatever. Mission failed. Full self-driving capabilities not being introduced to any of the cars as Elon had promised would make Tesla refund their money. But I see that as a highly unlikely scenario. I mean, think about it. Humans drive with two cameras, their eyes, and this is what Elon argues all the time. We have two cameras on a pretty bad jumbo system. Our neck, our head, we drive pretty well for how we should be driving. I mean, with two only looking straight, with a little bit of peripheral vision, we should be driving much worse than we are right now. So in that case, you can say that cameras do a really good job, and now Tesla has 360-degree cameras looking all around the car with a computer that reacts in milliseconds, not at the rate your brain reacts at the second time scale. If something happens, it takes a fraction of your brain to compute and perform tasks, whereas for a computer, it takes less than a millisecond. It's 1,000 times quicker than you are. And here's going to be my final point about LiDAR. What everyone else is using other than Tesla is LiDAR and mapping of the road. So what you do with mapping is you have to have vehicles or many vehicles that actually map out the road beforehand, measure exactly to millimeter accuracy where everything is. And then a car would drive kind of like a video game, but realistic. Random things happen all the time. If there's a construction on a map board, the car is likely to have a much harder time to comprehend how to navigate the situation versus a car that realizes on vision and that works like the brain when you arrive at a situation. When there's construction, you know you have to navigate that situation and you know how to too. Maybe not well because the humans know how to navigate through situations like these. We're not completely stuck. We don't turn off the car and be like, oh, that's it. I'll wait until the construction is done. You go ahead. No, we're not like that. Tesla's system will be exactly the same. It will work like a human brain than a computer. And this can be seen in all those FSD's beta videos owners are posting. It behaves like humans, it waits, it navigates, and it objects around, and it acts more like a human than what we would assume is a computer. If a Waymo vehicle approaches a construction, it relies more on vision that was encoded in the system and what it was taught to do in that situation. Whereas Tesla's system works like what humans would do if they were in such a situation. If there was an obstruction, Tesla will navigate differently and pass through like it's nothing. This is why Waymo seems to be ahead, but it actually isn't. Right now, it works only in Arizona, but Tesla's autopilot works everywhere around the world. If Waymo car is taken outside Arizona, it will fail. Well, not exactly fail, but it won't be able to do a good job. No one wants an auto-driving car to drive us on a case of if. We would prefer if the chances of fault is lesser. So in the end, Tesla looks like it's going to achieve full self-driving simply because they know what they're doing, and it also seems like LiDAR may not be the right approach. So this might make Elon right the entire time that LiDAR was not the right approach. We are yet to see the real full self-driving, so maybe Waymo will decide to drop LiDAR and use cameras. Tell us more about your thoughts on this in the comment section below. If you like this video, award us a like, and if you love the content, do subscribe to our channel. Thank you.